Hi, I'm Brittany Ashley, your host of Breaking Norms, Building Dreams, your guide through this transformative journey in both business and life. This is your place crafted for dreamers, doers, or anyone who has been told they can't. Get ready as we challenge those narratives together. You're tuning in live to the United Public Radio Network, airing on 105.3 and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. We are streaming on all the popular platforms every Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join me for a candid and thought-provoking conversation celebrating your unique journey because you are worth it. Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. For those just tuning in, welcome to Breaking Norms, Building Dreams. I'm your host, Brittany Ashley, and we are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network on 105.3 and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. Get ready to escape the next hour as we break norms and build dreams today with Karson. I'm so excited to have you, Karson.
Hi, thanks for having me, Brittany.
Karson and I met randomly through TikTok so I'm super excited to dive in. You're my first TikTok star / somebody who's blown up over TikTok overnight.
Oh my gosh. I wouldn't necessarily consider that, but I'm definitely trying.
No, I love what you've been doing, though. I've been following you from the first initial video, which we will share here if things go all well with technology. But today's an interesting topic. And the title I put it as, I don't know, Karson, if you saw that, but I put it as Beyond the Pink Slip. Because I think we, who also worked in the 9 to 5, there's some interesting stories and some things that I feel that aren't very ethical, how employers have treated employees in the past and so forth. And so I thought, let's just dive in today. And then we can also share our thoughts and processes and how things can kind of change up a little bit, because I think it's time. But I'll do a quick introduction for you. Karson is a multidisciplinary designer and illustrator whose work blends bold colors with thoughtful storytelling. Passionate about community and the arts, she creates work that inspires, connects, and curiosity. Maybe you want to tell a little bit more on what you do, because I know what you do, but that's tidbits.
I know, right? So over the last 10 years, I was trying to format myself as somebody who was not just a graphic designer, but somebody who was able to span in different areas of creative so that I could be more adaptable with the ever-changing job market. With being a creative, you kind of have to have 7 different hats at all times. Yes. And so, I can dabble in a little bit of everything, just besides just doing graphic design. So it's people are like, hey, can you help design a webpage? I'm like, yeah. They're like, can you do voiceover work? I'm like, yeah. Can you do a bit of animation work? Yeah. What do you need? If I don't know how to do it, I'll learn how to do it. So a Jane of all trades.
Yes. Love it. And I'm also a jack of all trades. So Jane, I like he said Jane. It's so true, because I feel like we as entrepreneurs, we do have to wear many hats. And also, even we've been working in 9 to 5, depending on that level of 9 to 5, there's a lot of non-for-profits out there that really require you to wear all the different hats. So I personally, I actually had this conversation with one of my clients. If I ever have to go back to 9 to 5, please no. It would probably be a non-for-profit, because I feel like there's just the senses of giving back to community, which is such a big passion for myself, but then able to wear that multifaceted hats, from design to project management to we need this, I don't know, go figure it out kind of situation.
Nonprofits really teach you to work with the bare bones of what is capable.
Yes. It's so true.
Yes, I've done nonprofit work myself. It was actually one of my favorite jobs I've ever had. And I worked at it right when COVID hit. So adaptability had to be a challenge to overcome by far.
Yes. We've worked with a few clients that are non-for-profit, and just knowing that we can all come together to make such an impact, I think is such an amazing thing. And then that we also have, by the means of figuring it out as we go, it makes you kind of a little bit more creative. And I love to find things that are free. I don't know about you, but I'm always okay, what can we find that is a great program that we can get for at least the free-ish as much as possible and get it going kind of situation.
I deeply, deeply empathize with that. As a designer, we would call that open source.
Yeah. Yes. Love it. Well, maybe should we maybe share the video right now? Or did you want to maybe maybe you can kind of share before we share the video, like I would say brief notes on more or less like what the video is about, and then we can share it.
So I will preface by saying I did not intend to record this for what it eventually became, which was a virus video. I initially did this because I wanted to protect myself after hearing what past employees had gone through with this particular business.
Mm-hmm.
I had a feeling that they would say some shady stuff, in which they did. And so I was just like, I guess I'm going to do the thing. And I held on to this for probably about 6 months before I decided, you know what? My closure is being like, hey, here to the world that is struggling with jobs right now. This is what it's like for a lot of us.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for sharing. Okay, let me see, everyone. Let's see if this works. Let me see if I can get this to sharesies. 1 second here. We just did a launch, and of course now it's like, no, thank you. I don't want to share. Okay, we're getting there. We're getting there, everyone. Share screen. For anyone who's just listening, you'll be able to at least hear the conversation too here.
And I should say the pauses, the video's not broken. They just take a while.
See if you can hear it.
So thank you for taking the time to meet with us today. Unfortunately, your employment with Hill will be terminated effective immediately through the end of the month. And Tori is available to help with any questions or processes moving forward.
Can I ask why I'm being let go today?
Yes, we had the 90-day period, and in the end, we were just thinking it wasn't a great fit.
Can I ask for reasonings as to why you did not think it was a good fit?
I like the awkward pause.
Yeah, the publication went out late. It went out with typos. We just feel like the design wasn't necessarily a good fit for the publication.
Can I offer some feedback to that?
Yeah.
Every step along the way, I met my requirements, and quite honestly, a lot of the reasonings as to why it was late was dependent upon you. And I received materials often late from you, as well as not being able to control every ad thing that came in. And I've honestly been on top of everything. I've asked considerable amounts of being able to access things such as the production email to help these things get out more on time. And every step of the way, I was met with roadblocks and being told no. As my direct report, I never felt like you stepped up and asked me if I could use help. I received very little feedback from you, and often there were times where I did reach out to you without being told anything or having any reply or response whatsoever. I also found it very unacceptable to receive a message at 11 p.m. last night informing me that I was going to be laid off the next day with this meeting, and then immediately revoking my access to everything. I do want to apologize to Kendall and to yourself for calling you so much, but when you do that to somebody, they're going to panic. I feel like I've done every step of the way of trying to do this job to the best of my abilities, and quite frankly, you've made it very difficult.
Thank you for the feedback.
Can I ask when this decision was made?
I don't know that there was a specific date in question. I think it's just, evaluating things over the last 90 days and not wanting to prolong it if it wasn't a good fit, and hoping that you could find something that's maybe a better fit for you and your style and how you want to work.
So was it a problem with my style of working? Kendall, I'd love to know specifically if you had issues with my workflow with you.
I wouldn't say it's so much of a workflow problem. I just think like stylistically, maybe you weren't the best fit for the magazine and the product that we're putting out there. Not that you aren't a talented designer or good at what you do. I just think that there's probably maybe a different role at a different company that would be better suited to your style.
Okay, I'd love to make a suggestion then, because right now I think your editor-in-chief could also use some growth in that area as well, because if you guys want to maintain a good team and moving forward, you need to make sure that your leadership is also possessing the strengths that need to be had to make a well-designed magazine. Because if I had been given materials and enough time, I would have been able to design a little bit better. I apologize for there being some typos and slight mistakes, but when it comes down to it, the publications being sent out late were not of my fault. Like
Okay,
I want that to be clear. It was not my fault.
Okay.
I work 9 to 5. I do what I've done. And I sincerely, Julie, I hope you take this as a growth opportunity, because every step of this since starting, my biggest frustration was working with you. And I want that to be known, because you have not given me the time to express that to you or give you any feedback until this moment.
Okay. And just please keep in mind, I appreciate you sharing that, but this call is not about Julie. So
I understand that, but since I'm probably not going to get an opportunity to talk about it in the future, it needs to be known. It's been lovely working with you, Kendall. I cannot say the same for you, Julie. Have a great day.
Mic drop. I do love how it went.
I was trying to be very polite and professional. Say my piece. I did cut out like the parts where I asked like the HR lady like about being paid and my insurance. I was like, no one needs to hear all of that.
Right. No. And certain things were blurred out just for confidentiality reasons, for sure. Totally makes sense. But I totally resonate. I seriously was watching that when I pinged you. I was like, you need to come on the show, because everything you're saying, and like it would be nice as an employee when I worked in those kind of jobs to have those kind of moments of like, hey, have you ever thought of this is the reason because of the leadership, X, Y, and Z, and why there's such a high turnover here? I've seen so many people in my past job just of high turnover. They weren't taking the time to actually talk to the individuals that were coming and going. And it was just kind of like a toxic work environment. And no one can thrive in that. And like, that was like my biggest pet peeve. Like when I started this business, Crave Dynamics, I was like, I don't want to recreate that. Like, I know what kind of leader I want to be, and I definitely know what I want the company to be, and I don't want anything like that. So seeing that video, I was like, so there's so many people out there that have and are experiencing these kind of layoffs, which I think are very unethical.
And it was such an interesting experience, because even before taking the job, I had spoken to several people that had come from that same business, and every one of them told me not to take the job. They were like, run. But I was kind of in a tight spot. There's not a lot of jobs on the market. And I had unfortunately declined another offer because it was about $20,000 less. And so I was like, all right, here we go. We're going to move forward. I'm going to try this out. I'm going to make the best of it. And I genuinely did. I really tried to keep a great attitude. It felt so shocking to have that happen, because prior to that, during the rare times I was communicated with, I was being told things like, you go above and beyond. No one's done this kind of stuff in your position. And so here I was thinking like, okay, I'm doing all right. Like, even the day it happened, the day prior, I'd been like ahead. I had finally gotten kind of a groove with everything. I was working ahead of myself so that I could make sure that like we could make really beautiful issues for the next coming months. And so I was very shocked upon that happening.
Yeah.
And I had worked really hard in communication with them. I often struggled with the publisher, who was technically over the editor-in-chief, but it seemed like the editor-in-chief ran her job instead.
Yeah.
The owners were very hands-off, yet still incredibly hands-on in the weirdest ways.
Mm-hmm.
It was just such an odd job, and I was shocked. I thought I was doing well. And then what they don't know is I had gotten to sit in and listen to them laying off my coworker previous to that. And what nobody else realizes is they gave me the same reasons they gave to her.
Mm-hmm. Well, that seems you're not the right fit is like the go-to mechanism for so many HR individuals, because it's saying something without saying something, really, right? Which is, it's bananas, because you really, as an individual, I don't know about you, but like having that piece of information too, of how can I grow and how can I be better? Like, why wasn't I the right fit? Like with my ADHD, I would spiral out of control, being like, what do you mean? I've been here for however many years and all of a sudden I'm not a right fit. Like, that just doesn't make any sense.
And I was always asking too for feedback. The only time I ever really received any genuine feedback was when I first started the position, and it was concerning the cover. And they were reusing some photos that they had from last year, and they didn't like what I was doing. And I was like, okay, well, what would you like me to do? Like, can you give me an example? And they just sent me a cover of Magnolia, the like Chip and Joanne magazine.
Yeah.
And they were like, we want you to make it exactly like this. And I was like, okay, well, I could do that then. Yeah. And then upon further investigation, past art directors had struggled in that environment because they would want to actually be art directors, give their creative opinion, and they were constantly shot down by the owner, who was the quote unquote cover queen.
Yes.
And that was really the only time. And so I was not given a lot of avenue to have creativity as an art director, and incredibly limited. So having it told to me that I was not a good fit felt unjust and unfair, because I was like, you never even gave me the opportunity to show you what I could do. Mm-hmm. So I just was like, how is that your determination?
Yeah.
And I knew it was financial. And instead of them just being honest with me, they searched for reasons. And it hurt. It hurt.
Yeah. And then that kind of leads into like what I know what we want to talk about today, about like the mental health for employees, because I don't know, it depends on like the state of each individual, but when you come at somebody and say like you're not the right fit, I think that can hit individuals in so many different ways, because they don't know what's happening behind the scenes in their personal life, and their mental health could take a toll.
I admittedly during that time was still tender myself, because I'd come off another layoff prior to that, because I had been at a company that was my dream job. They grew too fast, too big. And 3 months into my job, they laid off a large portion of the company. Mm-hmm. And it was, I mean, no one was safe. It started with our VP of marketing that day, and then boom, 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 it went down the line. And it was a job that I thought I would be at for years. I had a wonderful team. I was being told I was doing a great job. It was simply a budget and numbers game. And that one rocked my world, because I grieved it so hard, because I felt like I had finally achieved the thing I had worked so hard for. I finally got that job that like it was everything I wanted it to be. And I lost it. And it was not even of like my fault. It was because the company didn't have money anymore. Mm-hmm. And that was really hard to accept. And I've been in that position several times, unfortunately, as a creative. I was at a company where I was asked to join it because they were creating a bigger department. And in 6 months, they said, we're dissolving the department. Mm-hmm. And they gave me severance. They were very kind about it. I knew it was coming. I saw the flags, because my boss quit 2 weeks into me starting. And so I've been in circumstances where I've had layoffs that are handled in a very human way. And then I've had experiences where it's just like, nope, it's your fault. It's your fault. And we're not going to take accountability, even though we know we're the problem.
Yes.
So I did. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and let's just point it out right there, though, like what you said about the human approach to like pretty much treating the individual, the employee, like another number. And that's like the biggest thing. I think I had like that awakening moment of like the 9 to 5. I'm just another number. So why am I working my butt off so hard? Like I would take work home. I have like OCD with my inbox. Like that's just something I'm trying to overcome. But I would literally take the computer home and make sure that I respond in a timely manner. I'd try to make sure I'm not responding within 24 hours. It'd be less than that. And I remember my one employee friend would be like, why are you working so hard? They don't care. They don't care if you work on weekends. They don't care if you work in behind the scenes. They don't care. And it's taken me time to realize that not all individuals, employee places, by the way, employers are like that. However, there's a good handful that I definitely have shared my time with. And I'm just kind of, it takes you back because you put so much time and effort and you pour so much energy into something like that. And then you don't get the energy back. And so for me, where would I put my energy more right now? And being mindful of those. So having those conversations about non-for-profit, I know if I put my energy in it, it will kind of shift my own energy as well, that I'm giving back to an organization that I feel that also, there's not all of them either, but a lot of them care about the employees and the community that they're trying to grow too.
And I have put so much of my energy out there. I've worked since I was 15. I am one of those people where I'm like, I love working. I like having a job. I like being busy. And it's always so insulting to me too, whenever I tell people there's no jobs or anything, they're like, you just don't want to work the jobs. And I'm like, bro, I will work whatever job you throw my way. But the problem is no one's actually hiring for a livable wage. But I expended myself for years, so much energy being put out to organizations that at the end of the day saw me as a number they could cut so they could trim the fat of their budget. And then until most recently, back in April, I separated from a company. I'd been there for about 6 months. It was an agency, and I had not fully been able to process everything I'd been through. And I came in, and everyone I started bonding with was either let go or left because the conditions were not met that people enjoyed anymore. The company was changing. By the time I left, I had stopped eating. I had stopped sleeping for nearly a month. I was not well, and my performance dipped. And I was like, it makes me feel worse knowing I'm not doing a good job. And I was like, I think I have to redefine my value in myself and where I'm putting my time and myself and my energy. And I decided to walk away from a career. And admittedly, that might have been a poor choice because the market is bad. But I am so much happier because of it now. And I have to admit that.
Mm-hmm. I think you kind of need to start looking at your mental health when you're in those kind of situations, right? I definitely was in a state of chaos, which I couldn't see because it's just kind of like when you're in an abusive relationship, which I have also been in. And if you're in it, sometimes you don't know what is on the other side of the tunnel because you're just so engulfed in it and you just keep on going and you think that you're not good enough to go anywhere else because that's what they make you think sometimes or so forth. And so I know I've been doing so much. I have imposter syndrome. That's probably why I went after imposter syndrome coaching. I love that I had to take the course to learn that I have my own imposter syndrome issues. But I think doing some of those impactful inner healings too help you kind of reevaluate what you're in. And when you're in those kind of states, the mental health, when you're in that mental state, sometimes you just don't realize that you're kind of going in this downward spiral.
It's true. I always tell everyone, I'm like, the day I walked out of my last job, I felt like that image of Nicole Kidman signing her divorce papers with Tom Cruise. I was just like, and I felt so free. And I was like, I've never felt this before. And I had this idea and this thing in mind where I was like, I could do whatever I want now. I've never had that opportunity. It's always just, I got to get another job. I have to have another career. I have to do this. I was turning around and getting jobs 48 hours in each other at one point in time, just so I could make sure I was continuously working. Cause I was my career was so wrapped around the identity of who I was. And then I broke who I was down to tiny little pieces. And now I feel like I've finally found myself again and trying to build that confidence back up. And so just recently I was like, I'm going to start applying for full-time jobs again in the worst job market to do so.
Yeah. Where about, maybe you can tell the listeners where you're based.
So I'm currently based in Oklahoma City. We are a large metro, but I like to often say that we're the biggest, smallest place because once you meet somebody, you know everybody.
Yes.
Which also means that the job market here is very slim if you have niche positions. So like I said, I work in design. There's only so many design jobs. And with everyone going back in office, it's slimmed the pool down even more. And I think a lot of people are currently experiencing that across multiple industries and fields. We have not only these mass layoffs, we just have all these people trying to get the same jobs because we all had this like awakening with remote work of like, I don't really have to sit in an office.
Yeah.
And now they're like, no, come back, and trying to like create this like culture and everything. It's like, no. We were good.
I feel like there's definitely a little bit of a disconnect though too of what is culture within the workplace for some individuals, employers. I went to this event not too long ago, and one of the things that they said that's trending right now more so than ever here in Canada, because they are like an HR kind of company here. Can't remember the name of them, but is offering mental health support for employees, like actually having counselors and or therapists at like a revolving door of it's open for you whenever you need it. And also making sure that they're very specific in boundaries, meaning like you work from these time frames, I will not message you outside of it. And really making sure there's those high cutoff points.
Yes. And I think it's so hard too, because I think that would be a great position. But a lot of the time your teams are so small that's not usually the norm of who could be hired to be brought into something like that. And so many places have this toxicity that just emanates around them. And what do you do for those places that can't have that person, or like, what if you do have those people in place at larger corporations? Are you going to have people who feel like it might be the big brother effect and might be too scared to actually share their genuine feelings and opinions on their workplace and the culture? So I think there's a lot of considerations with that too. I think it would be valuable to have an open space like that, but people are often scared of human resources.
Yes, I do think so. I was just looking at the time. I'll just quickly say this because we'll go into the next. We're already at midway. See, I told you today would go by very fast. For anyone just tuning in, welcome to Breaking Norms, Building Dreams. We're live on United Public Radio Network, UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. Maybe going back into kind of work culture, what do you think is a good leader?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think with a good leader, it's somebody who's not just there to protect themselves and the company. It's somebody who genuinely cares about other people and the successes that happen with that. Yeah. Because you can be really proud of the success that people have that helps your company and therefore makes it an even bigger success. But if you're only prioritizing your needs first and the direction that your career is headed in, as well as whatever place that you feel loyalty to, I think that can make really quickly for a bad leader because it closes a mindset. And having that open-mindedness, the ease of communication, and overall kindness to understand that people are people, I think that's what makes a good leader.
I love that. It's so like the best place I've ever worked was when I was in school, and I'll say the name, was Black Ball, Coho, the ferries that went between Port Angeles. And like, I just loved it because Ryan showed true, genuine leadership. He cared about every individual in there. It didn't matter if you're a ticket girl, tying the boats to on the boat. He made sure to really interconnect with each person, ask them how their day is. And then on top of that, he would try to do everything else in between. So because we weren't allowed to have the cars going on the road there because it was a very high congested area. So if he saw that the girls were kind of a little bit behind, he'd jump in and sell tickets. And he would make sure that we were flowing as a team and made sure to do whatever he could as possible to make sure that things were moving if we're behind one person. And I think that's such a good leader, like just one, checking in with everybody. But then when they see that the ship's kind of wobbly over here, how else can we jump in and make sure we execute to make sure that we're all working together as a collaborative than against? To me, like, I think those are like the best leaders whatsoever. And I always with my company, I'm always like, okay, what would they do in this situation? Okay, let's do this. And then I always ask my team questions of like feedback. Okay, what am I doing wrong here? And I'm open about it. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing sometimes. So you tell me if this is working or not working, and let's tweak it together.
As a leader myself, I take a lot of accountability because I am a person that does believe like you need to step up. If someone needs help, step up, show them that like you're there. Even if you don't know how to do it, say, show me how to do it so I can help you. It's the old Jerry Maguire, like, help me help you.
Yeah.
and I have always tried to abstain that in myself as a leader. I've mentored a lot of young designers. I actually just finished wrapping up doing 2 months of a portfolio development course with a bunch of students. Amazing. And a lot of the time it's just thinking like, hey, we got to problem solve. Like design is a communication. Like, let's problem solve. Let's do this together. We're all a team here. And there's times to be an individual. But at the end of the day, like, we are all focused on the same goal. Are we executing it at an equal level so that we can all meet that success? And I think a lot of the times in these workplaces, there's a huge unbalance of that happening, and you have all the wrong people taking all the credit. Well, you have so many people working hard without the acknowledgement. And it's like people say, people don't quit jobs, they quit bad managers.
That's so true. 100%. I can't say that enough. Like, I'm going to toot my own horn that a lot of my people have been with me since almost 6 to 7 years now, give or take. And I'm like very particular on like how many people we add onto the team, because I want to make sure we're mindful. Like, I know that right now I have 2 young kids. And so my team knows, like, sometimes if I'm totally MIA, there's a good reason. And I just have it full plain out, because I'm not at the point where I can have my own assistant. And a lot of people think I have my assistant. I'm like, no, I still do it all myself, because I know the number game. Like, I make sure where we are, because I want to make sure that everybody else has the means as well. So there's no point in me outsourcing here yet, because we're not over here yet. So I'm always like being mindful. And I always just tell the team, like, if you don't hear from me in 48 hours, you know something's wrong. Like, something went sideways with the kids or something happened. Just being honest and transparent about it.
Yeah, I always tell a lot of people, I'm like, if you've never worked in an environment that has a lot of teamwork, go work as the server. Go work in food service. You are going to learn very quickly how to work as a team. And you're going to learn like what your weak points are and where you need to work on them. I personally have worked in many areas of food service, especially when I was younger. And it taught me how to be personable. It taught me how to multitask. It taught me how to take lead and when to step back. It teaches you so many valuable skills.
My background is in tourism hospitality. So to get the diploma, we had to play into every field. So I was in the back of the house, so housekeeping, to the fish cooler, to the front of the house. And I was in every different area. That's probably why I secretly love being in all the different areas, because I can kind of see it and understand like the ups and downs for each person as well. And so I remember it was it's called Oak Bay Marine Group. So it's a very popular resort here locally. I guess that they have it worldwide too, but here, like a lot of Americans would come to Painter's Lodge to go fishing because it's a world-renowned place. It's changed over the years, but Bob's slogan was, yes, I can. So it doesn't mean that even if you can't figure it out, you reach out to somebody else as a team member to come in to support the yes, I can like model, because even if you can't do it, somebody else can do it. And we all work together as a team to get it done. So that's something that's always stuck out to me growing up, like the years of all these different workplaces. It's just always been like impacted in my brain of like, yes, I can, in a framework of yes, we can. So I think that kind of like moves the needle from us, instead of just being like, oh, Bob needs this over here. Like, I need to go up on the ladder. So who cares about them? But if we all work together organically and bring us each other up, we're all moving to the ladder together.
Exactly. And I think like right now, this entire job market, like it's tooth and nail. We are all just fighting for the same thing. And we are all in this moment of having to be everything but the kitchen sink. Like people are like, we want a unicorn. We want somebody who can do it all.
Yeah.
But they also don't want to pay that person very well. They don't want to show them a lot of respect. They want them to just do all the work while they sit back and make money.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us right now are seeing that reality play out in the way that corporations are treating people right now.
Mm-hmm. I kind of keep saying, because look, back in the day, it's like, go to high school, get your diploma, and then go to the corporate world. And I think during how we've progressed, I really feel like when my kids get older, the corporate world is not going to be the same. And I feel like we need to kind of start changing that mind frame a little bit more than the corporate 9-to-5 lifestyle, because we want to see the change. And I feel like we are slowly talking about the change, but it's not there yet. I feel like the generations to come will make those changes, and I'm excited for it, because I feel like the old way of doing things, we need to change. Just like going to school, like we haven't changed the ways on how things are made in school in 100 years. And we've seen there's neurodiversities, kids who need to learn differently. How do we make a workplace / school place that's neurodiverse / even neurotypical for us to all thrive?
The last place I worked, it was interesting because I came in when they were shifting from having hybrid options to completely in office. And several people struggled with that because they just couldn't wrap their mind around, why are you making me drive 30 minutes to an office when most of my meetings are still virtual?
Mm-hmm.
And I also struggled with that. I mean, I was sitting on a floor with no windows, often in like this closet-sized like focus space called a fifth gear room.
Oh my goodness.
I could elaborate more on this. They weren't a bad workplace. I want to say everyone that I worked at this place, very kind, very great at their job. It just was not the culture for me, but they were slowly bringing everyone back in. And so I started and then watched all of these people quit because they were like, we don't like these changes. Like things were good. We had a really great culture. People used to talk about how good our culture was. It has changed for the worse. They brought in leadership that was known for being incredibly challenging and hard. Not that they were bad people. They just had incredibly high expectations that could not be met with such a reduced staff. And they were just constantly trying to fill these voids that just did not exist. And they just had all these expectations. And after I left, I heard that they completely laid off the rest of their remote employees so they could focus in on local only. And in my mind, I feel like all you're doing is just ignoring good talent by trying to hone it in.
And let's just go back to like the mental health piece there for a minute. There's a lot of people who do have also kiddos that we're already kind of like school bus drivers on a good day. So going into work, and we could lose. So here in Victoria, we call it the Langford crawl, give or take. I don't know, it could be worse now because I work from home now. But on average, when I did work out to this location, it would take me about 2 hours sometimes to get there. And I kept adjusting my schedule, and then I'd have to adjust like drop-off time. And before I know it, this job was only supposed to be from like 9 to 3. I was leaving at 7 and then trying to push it to 3, but sometimes I'd have to be late. And then that also affects daycare drops-offs and like additional fees there. So end of the day, I was paying more in childcare, driving way more. And by the time I even get to that location to work, I'm like, it's not even worth it. I'm already annoyed and pissed off because you told me I had these time frames and then you keep adjusting it. So I feel like driving, there could be like a give and take here. Like I do believe on like workplace culture, and I do believe there's certain ways that we can involve and incorporate it to virtually. Like my team's all virtual. I do think that there's a way for us to all work in a work kind of culture to make it in the virtual setting. But if you're like, I think some of us are a little bit old school and we just need to see individual people and have that culture still, which is fine. But then how can we mold it to make it work for everybody?
And then, this also touches an interesting point too, because I think there is also this fight because a lot of people see the culture of like parents in the workplace and people who don't have kids. Which it's like, no knock at parents. You guys have lives. You have things you're going on. But I think sometimes the individuals who are childless do have more work put on them with different expectations. And I think through the pandemic, we discovered like, hey, everyone can have an equal share in what that felt like, where you have time back for the activities in your life that matter. Because just because I don't have a kid doesn't mean I don't have things to do.
Nope.
And go ahead.
I was just going to say before I had kids, like I was kind of given all of the stuff, and I was told that, oh, you need to work on the holidays. And it's like, so what? My family and or whatever over here is not important either. So it's not just family and parents, dog parents. It's just everything at the full focus of it. I think we need to kind of sit back and just start asking about, is it Italy? Where it's just kind of like, this is your time you work, good chunk of time. Usually they're late because they're on like polychronic or whichever time. They get it done and no stress. And they're just like so chill. Like, I feel like we need to bring that in our culture a little bit, because it's like, we will get it done.
Yeah.
But sometimes we're just like hyper focused, like things are not in this order and now things are going to cause chaos and we're all going to die.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of European countries, I mean, Mexico, like they have better work culture set up because a lot of it is more people centered, because people are the core of everything that keeps it all functioning.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and it's so wild to me, because we all realize like how much better it could be. And they just, I just believe that, like, you know, the ultra top, they're like, no. You can't be happy, because then we don't make money off of the pill companies we own. Then we don't make money off of the gas companies we own. Like, all of this real estate, oh no, get into an office. We don't care about your mental health. You're just a number. You can get another job, right? Go work at McDonald's. It's just this vicious cycle. And I think so many of us, again, identity is wrapped in your career. And so when we lose that, like, what is that? What do we do with ourselves? It hurts to think about. It is a physical and emotional thing that feels so deep and connected.
Well, if you look at Maslow hierarchy of needs, the psychology of it, right? It's like the there's the triangle, whichever it's called, going back into the psychology state. Like, we all need to have, like, if we're missing that one chunk, we're never going to be full. So if we move away that piece that we think is also our identity, we're not going to be that full feeling of being happy. So we need to make sure that there's that level playing field on each atmosphere of those different, I can't remember, was it life? I have to look. It's been 100 years since I did psychology.
Well, and there's so much like value put into like how productive you are as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like at my last company, if you had to log 8 solid hours every single day for an agency, which, like, I understand in terms of like project tracking and everything. But if you had side conversations, just talking to your coworker, it had to be logged as third gear. You still had to log that.
It's crazy. And
I think that also would beat to somebody a really bad mental health course. It did to me. I was like, this is too much. This is too much micromanaging. I'm getting my work done. I was often punished for not reporting enough hours, because I was like, but I'm still being efficient. I got the work done. Why are you mad that I'm an hour short? So that's another thing, is so much value in productivity.
I hate micromanaging. I just do like, okay, this is the project. Check in with me. Like, sometimes I'll have to check in with some individuals that sometimes they have ADHD and it's just hard for them. And so they ask me to. So I'm just more mindful of like, okay, they need my extra support here because they forget X, Y, and Z. So I love doing it that way. But other than that, I'm like, here's the project. Do you need anything else from me? Nope. Here's a due date. Cool. Like, if you need me, you know where to find me. Like, full on, like, and I feel like you're more productive. Those individuals are a lot more productive too, because they feel like they have that autonomy of like, Brittany trusts me. I can go and make something amazing.
Trust goes a long way. Trust and transparency. I think those are key factors in making for a good team.
100%. I'm just trying to think. There was something I was going to say, and I completely lost my train of thought there too. I feel like I was saying back, like the ways of the world, I'm excited for how things are going to change. But like when I worked at this one company, it feels like 100 years ago, but I remember we're all sitting in this room and it was with the client and they're like, oh, millennials, they never want to work here for a long time. There's a lot of changeover. And I was like, sitting here, I'm like, I'm a millennial.
And also too, it's like, what's
awkward.
Yeah. I mean, like, how about we turn the conversation around? Why is it that they're leaving? Why do you have that high turnover? Yeah. Is there something that you could be offering back to give them the value to stay here? Like, let's flip-flop this conversation, because you want to make them the bad guy and they probably liked their job.
I'm the kind of person that I'm like, if I have a job and I like where I work, I'll be there forever. So like when I worked at Painters, I was there for a solid 6 years and I had to leave because it was time for me to move on out of university and move down the island. So that's why I had to like give it up per se. And then just like at the other job, it was like a summer job really. And so I had to give it up to find something else. So I would probably still be there. Like sometimes we still even go to their work, like holiday parties. And I'm like, oh, I'm like this, like the oldie that you can't get rid of, but I'm still here.
And I think for me, I'm in a unique position because as a graphic designer, a lot of the time to move up, you have to move out. And people don't like seeing that on a resume because they think like you're a job hopper. And it's like, no, I hit the peak at what I could get to at this job. I asked for like more opportunities. I asked for more responsibilities. I was met with none.
Yep.
And I went and found those opportunities elsewhere. I found better pay. There have been opportunities where I wanted to stay, but they weren't putting the value back in me. And I was like, I think I have to go check out this other thing because I'm honestly worried that there won't be a job come the next month with how things are going.
And yeah, I like that you said that about like job hopping, because I think maybe we have to change that mentality a little bit when you do see something like that on the resume. Instead of just assuming, I think we need to start opening up and being more curious. And actually, like, for some clients, I do like, I don't want to say HR, but like I look for their potential person to jump in. And so I did this, and I remember seeing her resume and I was like, she does kind of jump around, but you know what? Let's interview her because there's a reason here. I have a feeling there's a reason. And so I got talking to her, and overall, like, it was just, one was very toxic work environment. No shame. You shouldn't have to work there. Second, they weren't like letting her grow with the company. And so no shame. Like, so like if you just kind of sat and like start asking curious questions, and if they're so honest with you, I think that right there highlights like such a good person to work with. And she now works with them, and our client is so happy. Like she goes above and beyond and does amazing things. And she's going to be like now like the lead designer. So it's like, so if you start to kind of sit back and start asking the questions, I think we can start bringing in the people that really do truly care to move with the needle and not just a number.
A really good friend of mine told me one time, and he said, when people ask me about like why I have these short sprints between some jobs, I tell them it takes about a year for me to know if a place is good for me or not. And I thought that was such a great way to frame that perspective, because I mean, that is true. There are certain amount of times, like for me, I would say about 6 months into a job, I'll vibe if it's something for me or for not. And if I want to invest more time in it or start looking elsewhere, because you don't want to invest in something that doesn't want to invest in you back, because you want to feel good about what you're doing. I didn't feel good about what I was doing at my last job. I was like, I don't have passion for this place. And I just accepted that. And that was the hardest part, was being like, I could do better. And the future is unknown. But at this point in time, the future unknown looks way better.
Well, it's just like, I call myself like a hippie because I've been through so many different jobs, I feel like, until I feel like I finally landed where I'm supposed to be. But it takes time. And I don't think we should shame it. I think it's just the journey. And I think it's just like, we're sometimes in society, like I was just saying, it's high school, college, university. Go live that corporate 9-to-5 job until you die. Done. And if you leave it, shame on you. So why not? And I think we're just seeing that structure change. Like when I was 17, I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. Like I just finished high school, and everyone's like, you should be X, Y, and Z. Like my dad wanted me to be a nurse. I'm like, I hate going into the hospital. I can't see blood. I'd be the worst nurse. Like, worst.
Sometimes I joke and I'm like, you don't actually know what you want to do until you find your midlife crisis hobby. And that's probably what you were meant to do.
Yeah. Just thinking about a moment, like my husband had a bleeding nose once, and I literally fainted out the door.
So
yeah. Sure, Dad, let me go be a nurse.
For the longest time, I wanted to be a lawyer. And then come college time, I said, I'm going to go to art school. I should have probably become a lawyer.
Well, you can present in rebuttals really good. Like, I love, if everyone's just tuning in, make sure you kind of rewatch back the video that we just shared. But I like that how you presented in those scenarios back to the HR person and the employer, because I wish I was better prepped too. I was so like, I was sideswiped in a way, and like just like full on like trying to hold in my tears. And I wish I would have had like a little bit more composure to kind of like stand up in a way that I like looking back, but can't dwell on the past, move on, and things happen for a reason, and we shift our energy towards what we want to. Sometimes it's hard though. It's really hard when it happens in a state of chaos.
Everyone thinks that I was very confident and calm during that, but internally I was freaking out. And for me, I can catch where I was like very nervous because I repeated a lot of same things. Like every step along the way, I said that 3 or 4 times, and I'm like, it's just because my brain was trying to process like as quickly as possible. Like, what should I say next? What should I say next? Like, and trying not to like go off the deep end and start being like, F you.
Yeah.
But I was like, I have to like very professionally call out the fact that this woman is now going to be told for the umpteenth time the same problems and issues that I've heard my other coworkers say. I've heard the last 2 people who had my position say. A lot of people. And when I posted that viral video, I had so many other past employees reach out to me.
That's so funny.
And yeah, and so I'm like, it was valid. They're terrible people, and now everyone knows. Well, Kendall, not a terrible person. She's actually a very kind person. I feel bad for her. I can't believe she's still there. She could do better.
Yeah. Well, there's some people, like, I know a few of my old past places. I'm like, how are you still there? Run.
And I feel so bad for the HR lady. That was the first time I ever met her. And like, she probably didn't know anything. She didn't know diddly squat about anything that was happening during that call.
She was just more or less there for like the buffer and have that, like the extra documents if things did go sideways, really.
Yeah, and I think they thought like I was going to go a little crazy because the morning I found out, I thankfully did not see that 11 p.m. email. My coworker did, and I woke up to the message from her. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, I opened my email, and at first I was like, no, maybe you're just like in the wrong account. And I opened up everything. I too was locked out of everything. I was like, and then I read the email. So I start calling them because I was like, I'm not waiting until noon for you to lay me off. Like, yeah. It's 7 a.m. Wake up now. We're doing this.
Yeah.
I did panic a little bit. I called them way too many times. That's why I apologize, because like that was a little crazy of me. But also I was like freaking out because I was like,
yeah, especially when it's your job and no. I think anyone would have done the same thing, really. Like how they went about it, I don't think was right. There's just some things like looking back on just all the things I have also experienced, like going back down to it, is just having that transparency and being honest about it. Like, look, our finances aren't here. We appreciate but unfortunately we're going to have to let you go. Like there's been some places too where there was like short time frames and they're like, what do you think you've done? It's like, well, I'm still being onboarded. Like, you've not even been here. I've just been learning what to do on the seat of my pants.
And like I said, I've had some very like warm, friendly layoffs. Like they've just been very transparent. And they were like, it was not a performance issue. They were like, actually, you were great. And if we ever need you, we'll reach out again. Mm-hmm. They were like, we just are dissolving the department. Or they were like, we just had to cut budget. And unfortunately, your role was deemed as redundancy and eliminated in this decision. And I was like, you know what? Thanks for the transparency. That's good to know. Because that's why I was so mad about that. Because I was like, I want to know what wacky excuse you're going to find for this.
Yes.
Because I know for a fact that like, I've not done anything wrong. I can count on like one hand the times that like I did mess up, but it was also because I was not provided proper onboarding. I had to do everything myself, including setting up my own payroll and HR and all of that. Usually you have a person guide you through it. Mm-hmm. And I had to learn entirely new software platforms, all on my own. I had to reach out to the former art director to show me how to do stuff because no one else knew how to do it. And the kicker out of all of it is they fired their production person a week before I started with no plan in place. And when I told them several times, I was like, hey, I can help you. I've done this type of stuff in the past. Let me learn how to use the tool and like, let's create a workflow. Yeah. And all I would get told back is, I'll let you know when I'm ready. And so I just was like, you shot yourself in the foot and then shot me too.
Yeah. It's actually quite crazy for like some of these companies that are like considered big and well off that have like no SOPs or like proper operation procedures are like, for anybody new to come in and here's your document. Like it just boggles my mind.
At one point in time, they wanted me to like automate stuff through this thing called Magazine Manager. And like, they were like, Magazine Manager has this plugin for InDesign. All the big publications are using it. Come to find out, the program they're wanting me to use is in beta phase. It hadn't been launched on the market. We were the hamsters. We were the guinea pigs. Yes. And so I like wrote out all this documentation on how it actually like increased the amount of time I had to spend on working on layout and like all of the bugs I was encountering and stuff. And I was like, hey, I'm going to submit this to this company because they're still working on the plugin.
That's so, yeah.
and for some reason, I was the issue. They were like, why aren't you doing this right? And I was like, because it's not even like a built product.
Oh, geez. Oh, man. Well, we're already at time, Karson. I'm so excited to have you on today. Is there any last minute thoughts you want to share with everybody who might be listening or watching?
Well, I'd like to thank you for bringing me on today. This was such a pleasant chat. And I will say for anyone out there, if you are job hunting, good luck. I know that everything is really hard right now. And I don't think anyone should say it's easy because it's not. Mm-hmm. But I'm personally proud of you if you're trying. You should be proud of yourself. And you know what? If you're not, that's okay too. Sit, relax, have a good time.
When you're ready, you're ready to go out there.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Karson, again for coming on today. Thank you to all our listeners. You're listening to Breaking Norms, Building Dreams. A big thank you to United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network. With that, everyone, remember your journey is unique and your worth is unquestionable.